Let's bring in Chris Mannix. I want Mannix to take a victory lap, and rightfully so. He covered yesterday's Game 7, Sixers and the Celtics. We'll talk about that. But it was about 6 weeks ago, I think, maybe longer than that, when you said the Lakers going to the NBA Finals. Congratulations there, Chris.
It must be like chewing glass for you, Dan, to say Mannix take a victory lap. It so rarely happens on the show.
Well, no, this is the first time. That's why I don't know what chewing glass tastes like until now. I've never experienced that before with you.
Just wait till like the Spaniards win an Olympic.
Ooh.
Like that's going to be big.
You're Susan Lucci of NBA predictions. Like, you're going to eventually get one right. You got it right, and congratulations. But what did you see?
That means I got longevity. I got longevity then, Dan.
What did you see, though, 6 weeks ago or 2 months ago with this team?
It's exactly what you said. It's what you saw, right? And after the trade deadline, you saw a team that had pieces that fit. You saw a team that had no shooting, add a bunch of guys that could shoot. You saw a team that didn't play defense, add a bunch of guys that could play defense. And most importantly, you saw after late January, Anthony Davis come back and look like all NBA level Anthony Davis. I mean, he missed 3 games from the time he came back from injury to the end of the regular season. And all 3 games were because of back-to-back situations where the team held him out. So when I wrote what I wrote in late March, I had seen enough. Like, I had seen enough toughness out of Anthony Davis to believe that we shouldn't be overly concerned about him getting hurt and having to miss significant time in the playoffs. And you pair that with LeBron James, who even at 38 is still one of the most dominant playoff forces that you can find in the NBA. It just was hard for me to find a reason to pick against them.
All right, let's look at the teams that bowed out. The Warriors. Steve Kerr said that he didn't have a championship caliber team. When do you think he realized that?
Probably early in the season, when it became clear that the young players that Golden State expected to step in and play a significant role weren't capable of it, whether it's Jonathan Kuminga or Moses Moody. I mean, you remember, this is a team that over the last few years, in addition to their core 4, they have had guys like Andre Iguodala or Otto Porter or Gary Payton II who have been able to step in and play significant roles for this team. For financial reasons, they went into this season without one of those guys. Iguodala was there, but he got hurt, and he's been kind of a fraction of his former self for some time, more of a player coach at this point. And they just didn't, those young guys weren't able to fill the role. They moved off James Wiseman. Kuminga didn't play a meaningful minute in the postseason. Moody wasn't impactful. And these were things I'm pretty sure Steve Kerr recognized early on were going to be a problem with the Warriors.
Why did Monty Williams get fired?
My understanding is that this was a Matt Ishbia production. I don't know why, but for whatever reason, Matt Ishbia never really connected with Monty Williams. And I think not only that Phoenix got eliminated in the second round was a factor, the fact they got eviscerated for the second time in as many years on their home floor was a factor. I've talked to a lot of people around the league about this. Most people feel like it was a knee-jerk reaction, but there are some people I've talked to that, point to the fact that maybe Monty Williams had kind of maxed out with this roster. He obviously wasn't connecting anymore with DeAndre Ayton, and if they want to bring him back, and they may not have a choice but to bring him back, salvaging that may mean replacing the coach. And yeah, I mean, look, the results are what they are. You got beat twice badly on your home floor in an elimination game in the second round. It's really hard for any coach to survive that.
The Knicks, I feel like, are in no man's land. It feels like they're a second-round team. They're not threatening. They do have talent, but I don't know. Like, they're missing something. I don't know if Josh Hart's a starting guard in the NBA with Brunson. Do they want Julius Randle back? R.J. Barrett quietly has played well. Obi Toppin was a no-show. But what do the Knicks do to go maybe to that next level, or at least attempt to go to the next level?
They've got to find that second option. They have, I think, a really solid first option in Jalen Brunson, who I think has proven, last year in the postseason and this year all season, he can be that guy that can lead a team in the playoffs. I think they have a really solid third option in RJ Barrett, who needs to be more consistent, needs to be more efficient. But if you're talking about him as a third option, that's pretty good to have. Julius Randle can't be the second option. He can't. Look, he's shown in 2 of the last 3 years that in the playoffs, when defenses can really key on him and throw different things at him, he doesn't have a counter to it. He's not an efficient jump shooter. He's overly reliant at times on the three-point shot when he's really not a three-point shooter. Look, the Knicks have a lot of assets. Like, they didn't make the trade for Donovan Mitchell, so they kept their powder dry. They kept their cache of draft picks intact. They've got some decent young players they can shop. Their priority this offseason is finding that number 2 guy to fit between Brunson and RJ Barrett. If they find that guy, they can be, a contending team. But this team as currently constituted, you just saw their ceiling. They are a second-round team, and that's it.
Chris Mannix from Sports Illustrated, senior writer. What do you hear when you hear Joel Embiid say this?
I got to be better, and I will be better. That's what I'm focused on. You can't win alone. I can't win alone. Me and James, we just can't win alone. That's why basketball is played 5-on-5. So, we just need everybody to just, try to keep finding ways to get better, and, we'll be fine.
What do you hear?
Well, look, I was at that press conference that Embiid said that yesterday. And in fairness to Embiid, I counted 5 times before and after he made that statement that he put it on himself. He said, losses belong to the quote unquote best player. Put it all on me. So he did take responsibility for this loss, as he should, because he was dreadful in the second half of this game. I don't think he's wrong that this team needs to make some changes to get to the next level. The biggest question is really James Harden right now, Dan. Like, that to me looms large over this organization. If James Harden opts out of his contract, I don't know how the Philadelphia 76ers pay him. I don't know how you can justify giving James Harden a 3 or a 4 year contract at $35 or $40 million per year, because the second you sign him to that contract, it becomes the most untradeable contract in the NBA. You can't move off it. You are stuck with it. And James Harden, Dan, showed in this series, he had 45 in game 1. He had 42 in game 4. He can still pick a team up on his back and carry them. But game 6 and 7 were awful. He shot, 28% or 29% in game 7. It was 25% in game 6. If you're Philadelphia, as tough as it would be to just cut ties with James Harden, you got to do it, because you've got Tyrese Maxey, who I think is going to go to another level next year and might be better off with more playmaking responsibilities with Harden off the roster. You've got Embiid, who's only going to be 30. I think they can get something for the contract of Tobias Harris in a trade. They've got to make a tough call on James Harden. And Daryl Morey, who's got a lot of loyalty to James Harden from all those years in Houston, he has got to make the tough choice and say, look, James, we appreciate what you've done, but we can't make that type of financial commitment to you with this team that we have.
How would you explain Jason Tatum's last 5 quarters?
Awesome. I mean, that's really what it is. And I've had kind of a bird's eye view at the development of Jason Tatum over the last few years. And every year, it seems like he adds something to his game. Every year, his confidence goes to another level. Every year, his game goes to another level. All season long, Dan, this was largely the guy that you saw, a top 5 MVP player, all NBA first team. And he is someone that has that Kobe Bryant-like irrational confidence. You saw it in game 6, where he's terrible for 3.5 quarters, but he doesn't let that affect him. He doesn't let that phase him. And he has the great final 4 or 5 minutes of game 6 to carry them through. Look, all over the last couple of days, the only thing people in Jason Tatum's camp were telling him were just relax, man. He was putting so much pressure on himself to succeed in these first quarters. And he was terrible in the last few games in the fourth quarter. He relaxed in game 7. He took the ball to the basket early on. And once he got it rolling, he is a really difficult player to stop. He is one of the top 2 or 3 best scorers right now in the NBA.
What does the NBA do with Ja Morant?
That's a good question. I can tell you from talking to, people in and around the league that there is a palpable frustration with Ja Morant right now. I mean, it's likely that the NBA, Dan, believes they did Ja Morant a favor last time around. They showed compassion for Ja Morant last time around. He said he was going through anxiety issues, depression issues, mental health issues. He went to the league office and he apologized face-to-face to Adam Silver. And then less than 2 months later, he does the exact same thing. The exact same thing. I would expect, Dan, while this will not be a swift process because there's no reason to move quickly on it, this will be a severe punishment. I think the NBA felt like, they showed it was like the carrot last time that they gave Ja Morant. Now I think the NBA is going to show him the stick. There's just everybody I've talked to, there's been a lot of frustration with how this whole thing played out, how the league probably feels like they got played by Ja Morant to a degree. I would expect this to be a significant suspension going into next season.
I know that people like to dismiss the bubble title for LeBron, but here we are with the same 4 teams that were in the bubble a couple of years ago here. How does it play out?
I still like the Lakers because I'm not backing off that pick, though Nikola Jokic, I mean, where are the people? I don't hear them. Where are the people that said Nikola Jokic is not a postseason player? He's been great from start to finish in this postseason, but I think the Lakers' experience and the fact that these games are probably going to be pretty close. I like LeBron and AD in those types of situations. I hate to downplay Miami as I'm about to, but I just don't think they're on Boston's level. I think Miami had the benefit in the first round of playing a Bucks team that was without Giannis for 3 of 5 games. They had the benefit in the second round of playing a deeply flawed New York Knicks team. Against Boston, a team that's healthy, that's clicking, and likely with Miami without Tyler Hero for the duration of this series, I just don't see how they compete. I think the Celtics win this series in 5 games. I think it's a lot easier a series than some people are expecting. And I think we get that matchup that Adam Silver will never admit he really wants, but desperately craves. Celtics-Lakers back in the NBA Finals.
Thank you, Chris.
You got it, Dan.
That's Chris Mannix. Occasionally he gets it right. Sports Illustrated senior basketball writer.